Ukraine today is joined by the first Deputy Justice Minister, Ms. Nataliya Sevastianova. Ms. Sevastianova, welcome to Ukraine today.
Thank you very much for inviting.
Ms. Sevastianova, I understand you are one of the persons who is responsible for representing Ukraine in the ECHR. And just last month, Ukraine filed a fourth claim with the European Court of Human Rights against Russia. Can you tell us what's in this claim? Yes,
Actually, my work for the government started as the government agent before the European Court of Human Rights last year, just after the events on Maidan and after the revolution, when we had a possibility to start working for the country. And definitely the first idea was, of course, invest all our knowledge and power and desire to sue Russia in international courts for the events which started happening in Crimea. And the first case which we lodged was 13th of March last year, even 3 days before this illegal, as they call it, referendum which happened in Crimea, and which was followed by the occupation and then complete annexation of part of Ukraine's territory. Actually, the European Court of Human Rights can be an effective instrument in suing aggressor in our modern world, because, first of all, the decisions of this court are obligatory for Russian Federation, even if they try to say that it is not so. Of course, for the last years, the European Court of Human Rights has been recognized as really an effective instrument of helping with individual claims to citizens all around Europe. It's more than 800 million people who have the possibility to apply to this court.
I understand that the Justice Ministry is inviting people who live in Crimea, who consider themselves citizens of Ukraine, and who feel that their rights are being violated, to come to the Justice Ministry to report about these violations, and supposedly you're supposed to protect them by filing claims with the European Court of Human Rights. Is that correct? And if so, how does it look like?
First of all, the government agent of Ukraine, who is one of the deputy ministers of justice, he protects Ukraine and the interests of the government in the European Court of Human Rights. So usually there was vice versa. When citizens applied to the court, we presented the position of the government on the other side. But when we faced the aggression of Russian Federation, of course, we needed information about the effects of human rights violations on the east, in Crimea and around Ukraine. So, of course, we have now a landline number where you can, this is the hotline, where you can call and inform us about violations. In the centers of free legal aid, which we have opened around the country, more than 100 recently, where you can receive a free legal help from a lawyer, not just consultations, but he will go to court with you and assist you on all the stages of the proceedings. You can also ask assistance to prepare a claim to the European Court of Human Rights, and of course that would be lodged against Russian Federation for all the events that happened in Ukraine.
Can you tell us what stage the review of the case is at right now with the European Court of Human Rights?
The first two cases have been already communicated to Russian Federation. That means that the court presented a list of questions to the parties, asking them, for example, who were those green men on the territory of Crimea when the occupation started? Did Russia had any possibility to control them? What are the terrorists on the territory of the eastern part of Ukraine? Do they finance them? So on and so forth. Russian Federation asked for prolongation of terms because they had time till 25th of March this year to answer these questions. They received a 6-month prolongation, and we expect their answers for 25th of September. But during this time, more than a year and a half, the Russian Federation received all the evidence, all the documents that we sent to the court. And from their side, the court received only 2 letters. The first one was just with a few sentences saying that we do not understand why we receive all the documents from Ukraine, because we have nothing to do with the events in Crimea. Can you imagine that happened even after annexation of part of our territory? And the second letter was saying that the Ministry of Justice of Russian Federation. They were watching Ukrainian TV and news, and they've seen there that I was speaking about new cases that have been lodged to the court, and they are really worried that they do not have any information about them, so probably they need more time. So you see, they know Ukrainian language and probably watch our TV.
Yeah, looks like that. Ms. Sevastianova, according to the ECHR, there are more than, as of August, as of last month, there were more than 500 cases, individual cases, against both Russia and Ukraine with the European Court of Human Rights. Can you tell us what is Ukraine being sued for?
This is not even the issue that Ukraine is being sued for. Of course, we understand that if the violation happened on the territory of Ukraine, the court should register the case before even knowing what will be the decision at the end. A citizen of Ukraine versus Ukraine. But obviously, even the court understands that it is not proven yet, but everybody knows that the Russian Federation is involved in this situation, and they can be found guilty. So even a year ago in March, when there was still a question if there are Russians or no, the court registered the cases against Ukraine and Russian Federation. And obviously we will see that after the first decision in these cases, then they will be automatically solved and the Russia will be found responsible.
What are the main complaints in these cases?
If we speak about individual cases, of course, these are people that are missing on those territories, and they use the Rule 39 of the court just to have interim measures in that case, immediately a short decision about that the authorities should do all the possible to find those people and establish if they're dead or alive. And secondly, there is property, of course, loss of property, destruction of property because of the war happening.
What about torture? Are there any cases of the former prisoners of war who are being detained by the Russia-backed militants? Are they filing any claims?
This is not the biggest category, but we have in interstate case many facts of torture that happened on the eastern part of Ukraine and in Crimea also. And there are even some claims that state that there were facts of slavery on that territory when people who were kept in prison there were used for this forced labor. And actually, the facts there are really surprising and touching for a simple citizen, because seeing all those pictures and facts of using death penalty, for example, in the 21st century on the territory of eastern Ukraine today for these illegal terrorists which claim to be rebellions, as they are often called in foreign media, which is not really true. And for us, of course, this is important that all the world and the Council of Europe and all the members of Council of Europe would see what's going on there and inform them, because Russia has a very strong propaganda and a very strong one in Strasbourg also. They invest money in sending secondment lawyers, for example, who can work for free in European Court of Human Rights, but they are all from Russian Federation. They occupy already one floor there, I think. So it all makes a strong influence on judges and people who work there. And for us, it is important from our side and with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, other representatives of government, to state who is responsible and what are these horrible facts of human rights violations which we face today.
Yeah, Ms. Sevastianova, my final and very brief question. What about the enforceability of decisions? Assuming the court finds in favor of Ukraine, I don't think you expect that Russia will comply voluntarily. How do you plan to enforce these decisions?
Actually, Russian Federation is violating international law day by day today, and even their national law also. We see it in many cases. Speaking about enforcement of foreign courts' decisions, of course, it is not an easy and fast instrument. But we can see was the example of the UCAS case, for example, that arresting property abroad is a very useful instrument that we can also use as soon as we get decision. And in the first case against Russian Federation, we claim that we have lost 4,000 state companies in Crimea with all their property, and in future we will then talk about huge sums of money that we want to claim. So obviously with the help of the Committee of Ministers of Council of Europe, which is an instrument that controls enforcement of judgments of the ESHR, day by day we will find a way to enforce those judgments. We just need to receive that.
Well, we'll be following very closely the developments in this case and see how it evolves. Ms. Sevastianova, many thanks for coming to us and talking to us. This was Volodymyr Sulhov for Ukraine Today, together with the first Deputy Justice Minister, Mrs. Nataliya Sevastianova. Thank you for watching us.
The world must recognize that as of today, Russia is not a country anymore. It is a terrorist organization, sorry.
An interview of a person who spent 48 days in captivity in Donetsk and now sues Russia in the European Court of Human Rights. On top of the next hour, following news on Ukraine Today.